Senator Hawley, I cannot discuss the details of that right now for very good reason.
You're going to do a thorough investigation into this, I trust. Is that correct?
We will be looking at all aspects of this, and I have talked to Director Patel at length about this.
And you're going to figure out who was involved in this, who signed off on it, who knew about it. You're going to get to the bottom of all of it. Is it correct?
Yes, and I've spoken to Director Patel about it, and he is committed to doing it.
Attorney General Bondi, good to see you. Welcome. I've been listening closely in this hearing, and I've heard over and over from my Democrat colleagues concerns about targeting political enemies, and they've accused you of all manner of things and the current president. I've also heard them said, and I just wrote it down because I wanted to be sure, Joe Biden never targeted his political enemies. Joe Biden never directed his attorney general to target his political opponents. That's interesting, because I could have sworn that yesterday we learned that the FBI tapped my phone.
Okay, so here's something that's going to blow your mind. Pam Bondi, Trump's attorney general, the person who's supposed to uphold justice in this country, is now facing the biggest scandal of her career. And yeah, we're talking about evidence tampering. We're talking about a federal judge calling her out. We're talking about potential disbarment. Like, can you believe this? The top law enforcement official in America caught up in what looks like a massive cover-up. And honestly, this story has everything. Political revenge, destroyed evidence, leaked messages showing Trump literally ordering prosecutions, and a justice system that's been turned into a weapon. So here's what happened. Court documents just dropped, and they reveal something insane. Bondi allegedly withheld or destroyed key evidence in cases she was prosecuting. We're not talking about minor stuff here. We're talking about politically charged prosecutions, including the case against James Comey. Yeah, the former FBI director, the guy who Trump has wanted revenge on since like forever. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest, you can't really trust headlines anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
That the Biden, rather, was frustrated with Garland and wanted him to take decisive action against Trump. Here's what we're talking about. Trump, of course, was a private citizen at the time. So he appoints his own hitman, Jack Smith, who goes after the president, former president, who goes after members of this body. You know, the thing about it, though, that really strikes me is that it didn't stop with members of the United States Senate. Did it, Attorney General Bondi? It didn't stop here at all. I mean, just as egregious, maybe more so than tapping the phones of U.S. senators, is this memo that I know you've seen before. Let's just look at it again. This is an FBI memo from the same time period, I might add.
And get this, a federal judge didn't just notice something was off. The judge straight up criticized Bondi's actions in court. That doesn't happen often. Judges usually stay pretty neutral, but this was bad enough that they had to say something. And now, calls for disbarment, accusations flying everywhere. The Justice Department is in chaos. But wait, it gets worse, way worse. Leaked social media messages show Trump personally ordering Bondi to bring prosecutions, like he wasn't even trying to hide it. He posted on True Social saying stuff like, "We can't delay any longer. Nothing is being done. Justice must be served now." All caps, triple exclamation points. The man was practically screaming through his keyboard, and Bondi, she apparently listened. Within weeks, boom, indictments start flying. Cases that senior Justice Department officials said didn't have enough evidence. Cases that multiple prosecutors refused to touch, but Bondi pushed them through anyway. Now here's where it gets really messy. Multiple senior officials at the Justice Department either resigned or got fired because they wouldn't go along with this. These are career prosecutors, people who've spent decades in law enforcement, and they walked away or got pushed out because they wouldn't help weaponize the justice system against Trump's political enemies. Think about that for a second. The people who are supposed to know the law best, the ones who've prosecuted actual criminals their whole careers, they looked at what Bondi was doing and said, "Nope, I'm out." That tells you everything you need to know about how bad this is. And it's not just about Comey. Yeah, that's the big flashy case everyone's talking about. But this pattern goes deeper. There are allegations that Bondi's been targeting other Democratic figures, other people on Trump's enemies list, and doing it without proper evidence, without following the rules that every other prosecutor has to follow. The BBC reported on this, and they pointed out something crucial. This isn't just about one bad case. This is about a systematic effort to turn the Justice Department into Trump's personal revenge machine. And Bondi, she's the one making it happen. So now there's a formal complaint filed with the Florida bar. They want her disbarred. They want her law license taken away. And honestly, can you blame them? If these allegations are true, she's violated every ethical rule that lawyers are supposed to follow. She's betrayed the public trust. She's turned justice into a joke. And here's the thing, this is happening right now. Like this week, the documents just came out. The judge just made those statements. The complaint just got filed. This isn't some old scandal we're rehashing. This is breaking news that's exploding across every news outlet. But most people, they're not getting the full story. The mainstream media is covering it, sure, but they're not connecting all the dots. They're not showing you how deep this goes. They're not explaining what this really means for American democracy. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to break this down piece by piece. We're going to show you exactly what Bondi did, why it matters, and what happens next. Because trust me, this story is way bigger than just one attorney general getting caught. This is about whether we still have a justice system that works for everyone, or whether it's just another tool for whoever's in power to crush their enemies. And yeah, it's as bad as it sounds. Actually, scratch that. It's probably worse than it sounds. Because when you start digging into the details, when you look at the timeline, when you see who knew what and when, the whole thing becomes even more disturbing. We're talking about a systematic corruption of the Justice Department. We're talking about evidence being disappeared. We're talking about careers being destroyed because people wouldn't go along with political prosecutions. We're talking about the foundation of our legal system being used as a hammer against anyone Trump doesn't like. And if we don't pay attention, if we just let this slide, then we're basically saying it's okay for the government to do this. We're saying the rule of law doesn't matter anymore. We're saying power is all that counts. So buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. All right, so let's get into the details here, because this story has layers, like so many layers. And the more you dig, the worse it gets. First, let's talk about how this whole thing started. Trump has been obsessed with James Comey since basically the beginning of his first term. Comey was the FBI director who wouldn't pledge loyalty to Trump. He's the guy who investigated the Russia stuff. He's the guy who Trump fired, which then led to the whole obstruction of justice investigation. So yeah, Trump has wanted payback for years. Fast forward to now, Trump's back in office. He's got his people in key positions. And Pam Bondi, she's the attorney general. She's got the power to bring federal prosecutions. And Trump sees an opportunity. According to Yahoo News, the indictment against Comey was engineered by Trump in September after he demanded that Attorney General Pam Bondi bring immediate prosecutions. Like, this wasn't the Justice Department independently deciding to investigate something. This was Trump calling the shots, literally demanding prosecutions. And those leaked Truth Social messages? Come on. The man posted, "We can't delay any longer. Nothing is being done. Justice must be served." Now, that's not how justice works. You don't get to order prosecutions like you're ordering a pizza. There's supposed to be evidence. There's supposed to be probable cause. There's supposed to be a legitimate legal basis. But none of that mattered. Bondi went ahead anyway. Now here's where the evidence tampering allegations come in. Multiple sources are reporting that Bondi's team either withheld evidence that would have helped Comey's defense or actually destroyed evidence. We're talking about documents disappearing. We're talking about communications that suddenly can't be found. We're talking about the kind of stuff that would get any normal prosecutor fired and probably charged with obstruction. And the federal judge noticed. During court proceedings, the judge made pointed comments about missing evidence, about inconsistencies in the prosecution's story, about things that didn't add up. That's huge. Judges don't usually call out prosecutors like that unless something is seriously wrong. The judge's criticism wasn't subtle either. From what court observers reported, the judge was clearly frustrated. There were questions about why certain documents hadn't been produced. There were concerns about the timeline not making sense. There were red flags everywhere, and the judge was waving them around for everyone to see. But let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just about one case. The BBC reported that multiple senior Justice Department officials quit or got fired. Think about what that means. These are people who built entire careers in federal law enforcement, people who prosecuted terrorists, organized crime, corrupt politicians, real criminals, dangerous people, and they walked away or got pushed out because they wouldn't help Bondi go after Trump's political enemies. That's not normal. That's not how the Justice Department is supposed to work. You're supposed to follow the evidence wherever it leads. You're supposed to prosecute cases that have merit. You're not supposed to take orders from the president about who to indict. One former prosecutor, who spoke anonymously, told reporters that Bondi was making a mockery of everything we stand for. Another said the atmosphere inside the Justice Department had become toxic and politically poisoned. These aren't partisan hacks saying this. These are career professionals who've served under both Republican and Democratic administrations. And it's not just prosecutors leaving. According to multiple reports, FBI agents have been quietly expressing concerns too. They're being asked to investigate cases that don't have solid foundations. They're being pressured to find evidence that might not exist. And when they push back, they're being threatened with reassignment or worse. Like, imagine being an FBI agent. You joined because you wanted to protect the country. You wanted to catch bad guys. You wanted to uphold the law. And now you're being told to investigate someone not because they did anything wrong, but because the president doesn't like them. How do you even process that? The morale inside federal law enforcement is reportedly at an all-time low. People are scared to speak up. They're scared to question orders. They're scared that if they don't go along, they'll be the next ones out the door. That's not a healthy organization. That's an organization being run through fear and intimidation. The New Yorker did a profile on Bondi, and it painted a pretty disturbing picture. She's always been a Trump loyalist. During his first term, she defended him constantly. She went on TV and pushed his narratives. She was one of his lawyers during the first impeachment. So when Trump needed an attorney general who would do what he wanted, Bondi was the obvious choice. But here's the thing, being loyal to the president and being attorney general are two different jobs. The attorney general is supposed to represent the American people, not the president's personal interests. There's supposed to be independence. There's supposed to be a wall between the White House and the Justice Department. That wall, yeah, it's gone. Completely demolished. Politico reported on speeches Bondi gave where she basically promised to use the Justice Department to go after Trump's enemies. She talked about restoring accountability for people who attack Trump. She used phrases like, they're going to pay, and justice is coming. That's not the language of an impartial prosecutor. That's the language of revenge. In one speech, she literally said that people who went after Trump during his first term would face consequences, not because they broke laws, but because they opposed him. That's chilling. That's the kind of thing you hear in authoritarian countries, not in America. And the complaint filed with the Florida bar is detailed, really detailed. It lists specific instances where Bondi allegedly violated ethical rules. It includes testimony from former Justice Department employees. It references court documents that show evidence tampering. This isn't just some partisan attack. This is a serious legal filing that could actually result in her losing her law license. The complaint runs hundreds of pages. It has exhibits. It has sworn statements. It has documentary evidence. The people who put this together weren't messing around. They built a case that's hard to ignore. Now let's talk about why most people are missing the bigger picture here. The mainstream media is covering the Comey case. Sure, but they're treating it like an isolated incident. Like maybe Bondi just got overzealous in this one case. Like maybe it's not that big a deal. Wrong. So wrong. This is about a pattern, a systematic effort to weaponize federal law enforcement. And it's not just happening at the Justice Department. Look at the FBI firings that keep happening. Look at the investigations being opened into journalists who criticize Trump. Look at the way whistleblowers are being treated. The Nation wrote about Bondi's Senate confirmation hearings, and even then, even before she got the job, there were warning signs. Senators asked her if she would maintain independence from the White House. She gave vague answers. They asked if she would refuse to bring politically motivated prosecutions. She deflected. They asked if she understood the importance of the Justice Department's traditional independence. She talked about loyalty to the Constitution, but never actually promised to stand up to Trump. And now, we're seeing exactly what happens when you put someone in charge of the Justice Department who's more interested in serving the president than serving justice. The implications here are massive. If Bondi gets away with this, if there are no consequences, then what's to stop future administrations from doing the same thing? What's to stop every president from turning the Justice Department into their personal attack dog? What's to stop us from becoming a country where the law is whatever the person in power says it is? And yeah, I know some people are going to say, but what about when the other side did this? Or what about Hunter Biden or whatever? But here's the thing, even if you think past administrations also abused power, that doesn't make this okay. Two wrongs don't make a right. We should want better. We should demand better. The rule of law means something, or at least it's supposed to. It means that everyone plays by the same rules. It means that the powerful can't just use the courts to crush their enemies. It means that justice is blind, not picking favorites based on who's in the Oval Office. And right now, that's not what we have. Right now, we have an attorney general who takes orders from Trump, who tampers with evidence, who drives career prosecutors out of the Justice Department, who turns federal law enforcement into a weapon. That's not justice. That's tyranny with a legal stamp on it. Okay, so let's break this down into the key points, because there's a lot to unpack here. Point number one, the evidence tampering. This is the core issue. Bondi's team allegedly withheld or destroyed evidence in the Comey case. That's not just unethical, it's potentially criminal. Obstruction of justice is a serious federal crime, and if an attorney general is guilty of it, that's about as bad as it gets. The judge called this out during court proceedings. We don't know all the details yet because some of this is still under seal, but what we do know is damning enough. Documents that should have been turned over to the defense, missing. Communications that would have shown the prosecution's case was weak, gone. Evidence that might have exonerated Comey, nowhere to be found. And here's the thing, this isn't just bad for Comey. This is bad for every single person who might face federal prosecution. Because if the attorney general can tamper with evidence and get away with it, then what chance does anyone else have? If the person in charge of enforcing the law can break it, then the whole system collapses. Think about it. You're facing federal charges. You know there's evidence out there that could prove your innocence, but the prosecutors just don't produce it. They claim it doesn't exist. They say they can't find it, and the attorney general backs them up. What do you do? How do you fight that? That's the nightmare scenario we're looking at here, and it's not hypothetical. It's happening right now in the Comey case. And if it can happen to a former FBI director, someone with resources and connections, and the ability to hire top lawyers, then it can happen to anyone. Point number 2, the Trump connection. Those leaked Truth Social messages show direct orders from Trump to Bondi. Bring prosecutions now. Justice must be served. Like the president isn't supposed to tell the attorney general who to prosecute. That's authoritarian governments 101. That's what happens in countries we criticize for not having rule of law. And Bondi followed those orders. She brought cases that career prosecutors said didn't have merit. She pushed investigations that senior Justice Department officials refused to touch. She turned the Justice Department into Trump's personal revenge operation. Yahoo News reported that the indictment was engineered by Trump, not developed through normal prosecutorial channels, not based on evidence gathered through proper investigation. Engineered, that word is doing a lot of work there. It means this was manufactured. It means this was political from the start. The timeline here is damning too. Trump posts on Truth Social, demanding prosecutions. Within weeks, Bondi announces indictments. That's not coincidence. That's cause and effect. That's the president giving orders, and the attorney general following them. And this sets a terrifying precedent, because if Trump can do this, if he can just tweet out demands for prosecutions and have them happen, then what's next? Does he start posting lists of people he wants investigated? Does he start ordering arrests through social media? Where does it end? Point number 3, the mass exodus from the Justice Department. When multiple senior officials resign or get fired because they won't go along with something, that's a red flag. Actually, it's more than a red flag. It's a giant neon sign saying something is very wrong here. The BBC reported on this, and they talked to former Justice Department employees who described a culture of fear and political pressure. People being told to investigate cases without evidence. People being threatened if they don't produce results. People watching their colleagues get fired for refusing to violate ethical rules. That's not how federal law enforcement is supposed to work. The Justice Department is supposed to be independent. Prosecutors are supposed to follow the evidence, not political orders. And when career professionals start fleeing, it tells you the institution itself is being corrupted. We're not talking about 1 or 2 people leaving. We're talking about dozens. Senior prosecutors with decades of experience. FBI agents who've built their entire careers on integrity. Department heads who could have coasted to retirement but chose to walk away instead. And here's what's scary. The people who left are being replaced by loyalists, by people who will do what Trump wants, by people who don't care about independence or ethics or the rule of law. They care about following orders. They care about keeping their jobs. They care about staying in Trump's good graces. So the institution is being hollowed out. The people who cared about doing things right, gone. The people who will push back against political prosecutions, gone. What's left is a Justice Department that exists to serve Trump, not the American people. Point number 4, the disbarment complaint. This is huge. The Florida bar has received a formal complaint asking them to revoke Bondi's law license. That complaint includes specific allegations, detailed evidence, and testimony from former colleagues. It's not some frivolous petition. It's a serious legal filing that could end Bondi's legal career. And honestly, if even half of what's in that complaint is true, she should be disbarred. Lawyers have ethical obligations. We're supposed to be honest with courts. We're supposed to preserve evidence. We're supposed to put justice above personal or political interests. If Bondi violated those rules, then she shouldn't be practicing law, let alone running the Justice Department. The Florida bar takes these complaints seriously. They have a whole process for investigating allegations of misconduct. There will be hearings. There will be opportunities for Bondi to defend herself. But if the evidence is as strong as it appears, she's in serious trouble. And losing her law license would be devastating. It would mean she couldn't be Attorney General anymore. It would mean her entire legal career is over. It would be a permanent black mark that follows her forever. So why does this matter? Why should you care about what seems like just another political scandal? Because this is about whether we still have a functioning democracy. The justice system is supposed to be the backbone of that democracy. It's what prevents the powerful from abusing their power. It's what protects the rest of us from tyranny. When you corrupt the justice system, when you turn it into a political weapon, you're tearing down one of the most important pillars of free society. And we've seen this movie before. We know where it leads. Countries that lose independent justice systems don't suddenly become more free. They become less free. Rights disappear. Opposition gets crushed. Democracy dies. Trump has been pretty open about wanting revenge on his enemies. He's made lists. He's named names. He's promised retribution. And now he's got an attorney general who's willing to help him do it. That should terrify everyone, regardless of what party you support. Because if Trump can do this to his enemies today, then whoever's president tomorrow can do it to their enemies. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's someone you care about. The 2026 midterms are coming up, and you can bet this scandal is going to be a huge issue. Democrats are already using it to argue that Trump has turned the government into a personal fiefdom. Republicans are either defending Bondi or trying to change the subject. And voters, they're going to have to decide if this is the kind of country they want to live in. Because here's the reality. This is a fork in the road moment. Either there are consequences for what Bondi did or there aren't. Either the system still has enough integrity to hold powerful people accountable or it doesn't. Either we still believe in rule of law or we've decided that might makes right. And if Bondi skates on this, if she keeps her job, keeps her law license, faces no real consequences, then the message is clear. You can tamper with evidence. You can take orders from the president about who to prosecute. You can drive honest prosecutors out of the Justice Department. You can turn justice into a weapon and nothing will happen to you. That's a precedent we can't come back from. So what happens next? Well, the disbarment complaint will move forward. That could take months or even years, but it's out there now. The court cases will continue, and more details about the evidence tampering will probably come out. Congressional Democrats are already calling for investigations. There might be hearings. There might be more whistleblowers coming forward. And Trump, he's not backing down. He's defending Bondi. He's attacking the judge. He's calling this whole thing a witch hunt, which, yeah, we've heard that before, but his base still believes him. They still think this is all just political attacks by Democrats who hate Trump. The truth, though, the truth is that career prosecutors, federal judges, and ethics boards don't all suddenly become part of some conspiracy. When that many different people and institutions are all saying something's wrong, it's probably because something actually is wrong. Look, I know this is heavy stuff. I know it's depressing to think about the justice system being corrupted like this, but we can't just ignore it. We can't just tune out because it's uncomfortable or complicated. This matters. This affects all of us. Every American should be worried about this. Doesn't matter if you love Trump or hate him. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or independent. Because once you destroy the independence of the Justice Department, once you turn it into a political tool, you can't easily get it back. And the damage spreads. Other countries look at us and wonder if we're still a nation of laws. Our allies question whether they can trust our legal system. Our enemies see weakness and opportunity. The whole foundation of American power, which is built on the idea that we have fair and impartial justice, starts to crumble. So stay informed, pay attention to what happens with the disbarment complaint, watch how the court cases develop, see if Congress actually holds hearings or if they just talk big and do nothing. And most importantly, remember this when it's time to vote, because the people in power, they're counting on you to forget. They're counting on you to get distracted by the next scandal, the next outrage, the next shiny object. Don't let them. This is about whether we still have a country where justice means something or whether it's just another word politicians use while they do whatever they want. And yeah, we'll keep covering this as it develops, because stories like this, they don't just go away. They either end with accountability or they end with democracy dying a little bit more. Stay tuned.